Argentina be on the brink of elimination from the group stages after a shock defeat in match day number 1. Meanwhile, other nations like England looking to secure their knockout stage berth. Can they do it in match number 2? We're going to take a little look next. That's right, folks. Papa's Game, and of course, another prediction video today. We look forward to match number 2, part 1. That's right, from Groups A all the way through to D, as of course they prepare for their second games. Of course, can Argentina bounce back? Can England seal the bloody deal? We'll take a look at all of it in a second. Of course, if you're new, where you been? Smash your subscribe button with all things World Cup related, Papa related, surviving the World Cup. Right, we're going to all here, boys, under one roof. Of course, we're going to take a little look back, and of course, how we all got on last time around, and of course, kick on forward to the next round of games. Of course, so let's jump in the deep end. But before that, big shout out to the VIPs. They are the patrons, but anyway, here we go. Alrighty then, now before we get to the deep end and of course take a little look at that Super Brew, let's take a little look back at my predictions and the actual bloody scores. We're kicking it off with the hosts, of course. Took on Ecuador and they lost 2-0 in the end. They were garbage, weren't they? Absolute garbage. I actually predicted 2 goals in this game. I went with the 1-1 draw, but ultimately I was wrong. 2-0 it was in the end. Meanwhile, the Dutch did pick up a 2-0 win over Senegal. I went with a 2-1 win, so not too shabby on that one. Meanwhile, of course, the big statement result, of course, of this World Cup so far has been England. It's not 6-0, it's 6-2 win over Iran. 2-0 win for me. Again, got the result right, but didn't get the flamboyant score right. Meanwhile, I did get this one pretty much bang on point as the United States and Wales duked it out to a 1-1 draw. Called it, lads. Absolutely called it. Meanwhile, the second round of games, or the second batch of games here, as you can see, Saudi Arabia upset the apple cart with a 2-1 win over Argentina. I went the other way. The French, though, did step up to the plate. 4-1 win over Australia to put themselves a benchmark result as well. 3-1 win for me. I did get a predicted draw between Mexico and Poland. I went with a 2-2 though, but it was a 0-0. And of course, Tunisia and Denmark duked out to a 0-0 draw. I went with a 2-1 win as well. So not great there. Of course, the prediction league is wide open. Get in amongst it. Cut your WC picks if you want to get involved. It is free. I don't even know if there's a prize or not, but of course, we'll have a look at that in just a second. Here is the groups then, shall we? Netherlands top the pops there, 3 points so far. Ecuador right on the heels, though, with also 3 points. Senegal, Qatar will duke it out, of course, in match number 2 to try and get themselves some points on the board for themselves. Meanwhile, in Group B, England, perfect start. The Welsh and the USA, of course, both unbeaten, but of course, trailing now the United States by a couple of points. Iran have a little bit of a chance to rectify their shit turnaround here by picking up a result against the Welsh this coming Black Friday. That's right. Take a look at Group C. Wow. Saudi Arabia have really put that group wide open, as now Argentina need to bounce back fast to pick up a result that could only match Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, of course, a win away potentially from going through to the knockout stages. I believe that's what it would take. But in fact, Saudi Arabia win, Australia win. Then of course it's still technically Saudi Arabia could they get knocked out? I don't know. I think they would go through. I think they would go through with 6 points. We'll see about all that. Anyway, that's of course permutations and all that. France though really flexed their muscles against the Australians. 4-1 in the end. Tunisia and the Danes duked it out to a point. Meanwhile, way up here, we do have our Super Brew. It is free to enter, get amongst it, of course. This is only halfway through match day number 1, but Oxlade right now has got 12.5 points, of course, looking very, very good. Alex Wells up there with 11 points. Wang Fan up there with 9.5. Greeny Aliar also up there. Track bonus as well. I'm there on 8 points. I'm around about, my 8th right now, so pretty good. And, of course, a couple of guys like Paul Raymond, just the 1 point for him so far. Should we have a little look what his picks were? He's based in Norway, would you, Adam and Eve? Would you, Adam? And he does support Argentina. Was very gutted about the result. We had a good chat about it on the stream and the watch along. Goodness gracious me, what a result that was. So far though, I'm in the mix there, but of course Oxlade running away with it. But of course it could all change in the second half of this, so we'll have to see what turns up in the next round of games. Speaking of the next round of games, here we go then. Of course, looking forward to those next round of games, which do kick off first and foremost on the 25th of November. I'm going to start though with Qatar up against Senegal. So let's jump in the deep end and have a little look at at these two sides. They never played each other according to my eyes. Qatar up against Senegal. Of course, Qatar, though, 58% form for them right now. Just 2 defeats in the past 6 up against Senegal. Also 2 defeats in the past 6, 58% form for them heading into this. But of course, Ecuador did beat Qatar on their own turf, 2-0 in the opening day. Senegal also losing to the Dutchies, both 2-0 in their first games. But of course, Qatar right here, right now, currently find themselves with the odds 5-1 to pick up the win here, 13-8 on for Senegal, 11-4 is the draw. If we want to take a look at the odds to get out of this group, right here, right now, Qatar to qualify 18-1, Senegal 13-8 to win the group, 80-1 Qatar. They need a massive turnaround, 20-1 to go the distance. And of course, the odds to lift the trophy right here, right now, Qatar 750-1, same amount of odds as Costa Rica, and of course, at this point, who have yet to kick a ball. Meanwhile, Senegal 125-1 to go the distance. But it's all about this. I'm going with my pick, of course, and I'm going to back Senegal here. I'm going to go with a 1-0 win. 1-0 win for Senegal, which would probably eliminate Qatar, or will it? Or will it? I'll put them on -3. I'll put Senegal on +3 points. A win for them over the Dutch, and of course, a defeat for them. I don't know. Get your calculators out. Get your bloody calculators out. Kicking off, although it's the next round of game. The other game over in that same group. Group A is the Dutch. They're going to be taking on, of course, Ecuador. Coming at you also on Friday, November the 12th. That's Black Friday, of course, at the Mia Khalifa Stadium. That's right, coming at you. Of course, the Dutchies have played Ecuador twice since 2006. 1 win for them, 1 draw, nothing for Ecuador. Of course, the Dutchies, though, unbeaten the last 16 games. They've got a winning streak of 4 in a row. They're 92% form for them heading into this. Ecuador unbeaten in the last 8, of course, with 2 wins in the last 6. Drawing 4, though, in the last 6. The last page there was a draw way back in May 2014. It was a friendly, of course. And let's remind ourselves of the opening games. The Dutch pick up a 2-0 win over Senegal. Ecuador with a 2-0 win over Ecuador. Of course, the odds for this game and this game alone: 5-4 on your Dutchies, 5-2 is draw, 50-4 is your long shot. So take a look at, of course, the odds then to qualify from the group. Of course, the Dutchies 92 on to win the group, 40-1 on to qualify. As for Ecuador, 9-4 on to qualify, 10-3 to go to win the group as well. As for the odds to win the World Cup, Ecuador coming at you, they're around about 100-1, around about 20 odd favourites. Of course, the Dutchies are 12 favourites, 12-1. They're 7th favourites, of course. To be honest, I've not been impressed with them to be that fair. Of course, I was more impressed with Ecuador than I was with the Dutch on this one. I do think it's going to be a tight game. I'm worried about the goals for the Dutch. I know they've got a lot of creativity, and Gakpo is a driving force for them in midfield. But Memphis Depay, is he the real bloody deal? Can he be the mantle, the main man down the middle for the Dutch? I don't know. So I'm actually going to back a draw here, which, of course, if again you get your calculators out, still it would be that would eliminate Qatar. They'd be done and dusted, and of course Senegal will still have a hope win the group, of course, and depending on what goes on in the final game. Moving into Group B, and we're going to start with England up against the United States. Let's take a close look at the Al Bayt Stadium, also on the 25th of November, aka Black Friday. Now these two sides have played each other 5 times in 1950. We've got 3 wins for England, 1 win for USA, 1 draw. Of course, England, though, 42% form for them right now, just 1 win in 6 against the Americans, just 1 defeat in the past 6, 50% form for them, of course. They have played each other 5 times. The biggest win for England over the USA was a 3-0 win. The biggest win the other way, it was a 1-0 win. In fact, England has scored 8 goals compared to USA's 3 over the course of those 5 games. Works out around 0.6 goals a game compared to England's 1.6. The last time played was, in fact, that 3-0 win, that big win back in November 2018. And of course, the one and only win for the USA happened all the way back in 1950. However, they did meet in a World Cup way back in June 2010, and it was a 1-1 draw, of course. Remind ourselves of the results. America coming to on the back of that 1-1 draw against the Welsh. England with that 6-2 demolition job of Iran. The odds for this game and this game alone: 7-4 on is your England, 65 is your, and 92 is the away win. But of course, the odds to qualify from the group, we have 50-1 on England, red hot favourites, 7-1 on to qualify as group winners. The United States 11-8 on to qualify, 6-1 to win the group. They're favoured above the Welsh heading into this, but the odds for the World Cup: 200-1 for United States. England third favourites, 50-2 ahead of Argentina behind the French. But it's what's really matters is my pick, and I'm going to go with a big statement result, 3-1 win at the end, which will be 9 goals scored by England over the course of the 2 games, and America will go into the final game against Iran with it all to bloody do. This was the game that they didn't expect to win. The Welsh one was kind of like a chance to really stake a claim, but of course, depending on that result, and of course the Iranian game, we'll see just what kind of shots they have left to qualify from this group. Meanwhile, speaking of that game, it is the Welsh up against Iran. It's the earliest kickoff on Black Friday, 5 a.m. for me at the Ahmed bin Ali Stadium. Played each other never, these two sides. The Welsh coming to on 17% form for them. Haven't won the last 6 games. Iran, though, 58% form, just 1 defeat past 4. Heading into this, of course, they did lose 6-2. Prior to that, big wins over Nicaragua and draws against Senegal. As for the Welsh, they did draw with the Americans, but of course, following on from that, 3 defeats in a row. So without a win, the last win for Welsh was the 1-0 win over Ukraine. It was qualifying to get to the World Cup. The odds for this game and this game alone, even Stevens is your Iran, even Stevens is your Wales, 60-5 is your Iran, 11-5 is the draw here. But the odds, of course, to qualify, Wales are actually 11-8 to qualify, 9-1 to win the group. Iran 8-1 to qualify, 125-1 to win the group as well. The odds to lift the trophy, Iran all the way down at 500-1. Better odds though than Tunisia, who I thought were pretty good. As for the Welsh, they're 300-1, of course, a long way to go the distance. I'm going for a draw on this one as well, 1-1 apiece, which again gives the United States hope they'll come into the final game with a point. Iran will be on a point, the Wales will be on 2 points, and Wales go again up against England. But England will be there, they'll be qualified. What kind of team will they turn up for the third match? Will it be an easy team? Will they take it easy on the Welsh? Who bloody knows? Because England would have won the group. They could stick bloody Pickford up top, for crying out loud. But anyway, that's of course something that we've got to look about further down the road. Next up, of course, it is Argentina up against Mexico. Wow. This has turned out to be a monster game, of course. Also, that's actually taking place on Saturday, 26th of November at the Lusail Stadium. And now these two sides have played each other 13 times in 1930. 10 wins for Argentina, 1 win for Mexico, 2 draws, of course. Argentina, though, 83% form for them. They were just on an unbeaten streak of 30-odd games, of course, but that has been broken not by Brazil, not by England, but by Saudi Arabia. Goodness gracious me, at the World Cup. Now Mexico coming to on 42% form for them. Win 1-2, lost 3 and drawn 1. Of course, their one and only win since 1930 was a 1-0 win. The biggest win for Argentina over Mexico was a 4-0 win. In fact, they scored 37 goals over Mexico in those 13 games. Works out around about 2.85 goals a game. As for Mexico, scored just 16 goals in those 13 games. Works out around 1.23 goals a game. Their goals in, these guys, the last time they played each other was way back in September 2019. It was a 4-0 win. The last time they played each other was in the World Cup was back in June 2010. It was a 3-1 for Argentina. That was in the round of 16. Have they ever played each other in the groups? Yes, way back in 1930, it was a 6-3 demolition job by Argentina, 9-goal thriller, of course. The Saudis did beat Argentina, though. We talked about that already. Mexico came into on that 0-0 draw. Prior to that, a loss against Sweden, big win over Iraq, and a loss against Colombia. Not the greatest preparation for Mexico, but they do come into this with the odds. Argentina, of course, 9-4 on to qualify, 11-8 to still win this group. Mexico, even Stevens to qualify, 3-1 to win the group as well. What about lifting the trophy? Well, Mexico at 100-1, quite long shots on this one. Argentina is still fourth favourites, 9-1 to pick up the trophy as well. Gonna go with on this one, 2-0 win for Argentina. Job done, back in the game. Just 1 point no for Mexico. We've got it all to do when they take on Saudi Arabia in matchday number 3. Kicking on forward, speaking of the Saudi Arabians, they're up against Poland, of course, in their matchday number 2, and that's also taking place on Saturday, November the 26th. Now, these two sides have played each other never, of course. Poland, though, coming to this on 50% form, 1-2 lost to and drawn to over the last 6. Saudi Arabia, they're just 1 defeat at the past 6, 58% form for them. Of course, they're riding, of course, the Kurt waves of decent form, though. That 1 defeat was against Croatia. Big upset back in November, it was. Prior to that, wins over Iceland, draws against Albania, and draws against the USA. The Poles coming to us on the back of a 0-0 draw against Mexico. They've been clean sheet FC for the past 3, haven't conceded a goal in the last 3, but they can't score for toffee either, to be honest with you. But the odds for Poland coming at you on this one, what are we looking at here? We're looking at 6-5 to qualify, 7-2 to win the group. As for Saudi Arabia, 11-10 to qualify, 10-3 to win the group. As for the odds to lift the trophy itself, right hand now, as we ended match number 2, 175-1 to lift the trophy for Poland, 351 for Saudi Arabia, of course. I'm back in on this one. I'm going to go with a 1-0 win here. I don't think there's many goals in it. That will put Poland top of the pops here, heading into the final game up against Argentina. Will put Saudi Arabia, I don't know what they have. It puts them, and of course puts them in a conundrum, taking on Mexico in the final day. Speaking of, I don't know what was I speaking of, but of course moving on to Group D now, we focus on Tunisia. They will be taking on Australia, but of course the world champions taking on Denmark. A bit of a zinger. Of course, probably one of the game of the rounds, of course, taking place at the Stadium 974. That's the stadium that was built from shipping containers. France coming to us on 50% form, 1-2 lost to and drawn 2 over the last 6. Denmark, though, coming to us losing twice at the last 6, 58% form for them. They played each other 11 times in 1984, 6 wins for France, 4 wins for Denmark, and we got 1 draw. Of course, the biggest win for France over Denmark, 3-0 win. The biggest win the other way, a 2-0 win. France has scored 14 goals compared to Denmark's 10 over the course of those 11 games. Works out around about 1.27 goals a game compared to 0.91 goals a game from Denmark. Coming into this, though, the last time the page of the was at the Nations League. It was a 2-0 win for the Danes. In fact, they're unbeaten against France, stretching all the way back to 2015 when they lost 2-1 to France in a friendly. But that's the place that was in competitive action. Real competitive action was a 0-0 draw in June 2018. That was in Russia. It was in World Cup Group C, of course, and Denmark and France duked it out. Meanwhile, the French commentators on the 4-1 win over Australia, with the Danes pick up a 0-0 draw against Tunisia. But the odds right here, right now, for this game and this game alone, we're looking at France 2017 on for the victory, 12-5 is draw, 7-2 is your Denmark. Of course, France did look good. The odds, though, for the French, 50-1 on to qualify, 6-1 on to win the group. The Danes, 9-4 on to qualify, 4-1 to win the group. But of course, to lift the trophy, France, second favourites now, 7-1, with the Danes at 40-1. Long shots. I am back in, of course, the French here, 2-1. They did look good, better than I thought they would be, and I think they're actually realistic contenders to make it back-to-back title wins. But moving forward, the final game of this half of the draw, should I say, it will be the Tunisians up against Australia. And again, besides Saudi Arabia's upset, I thought Tunisia were very, very good. Now, they're going to be playing Tunisia for the second time in recent history anyway. Tunisia just one defeat past 67% form for them right now. Australia just one defeat past 83% form for them heading into this. Of course, the one and only time they played each other was a 2-0 win back in 2005, and that was, of course, in the Confederations Cup Group A. Meanwhile, the Aussies with a 4-1 loss against France. Prior to that, wins over New Zealand, back-to-back wins. Of course, that penalty shootout win over Peru. As for Tunisia, a draw against Denmark, a spanking by Brazil, but big wins over Japan and Chile put them in good stead for this match. Let's take a little look then, of course, at the odds to qualify from this group. We're looking at Tunisia 10-3 to qualify here, 22-1 to win the group. Australia 7-2 to qualify, 50-1 to win the group. As for odds to lift the bloody trophy at the end, we do have Australia 500-1, Tunisia also 500-1. So these two are long shots, but I do fancy Tunisia. I think they look very, very good. I'm going to go with a 1-0 win for them on the money, and that will, of course, make some spicy flavours for this for the World Cup and beyond. Let me know your thoughts and opinions, of course, using the link here, cut4WC picks. Get your picks in before, of course, the deadline, and we'll see just kind of what kind of prediction king you are, like me. Anyway, that's, of course, it. Make sure you subscribe, smash the little bell. We go again, guys. We go again non-stop, throw it all the way through to the final, and I'll see you there in the bitter end.